Lausanne is about to host two 800-meter races that could define the European summer. Audrey Werro against Femke Bol in the women's race. Wanyonyi against Marco Arop in the men's. Two massive rivalries on Friday night, August 21st, 2026. Let's start with Werro because right now nobody in this sport is doing what she's doing. She arrives in Lausanne as European champion. 6 days ago in Birmingham, she beat Olympic champion Keely Hodgkinson for the title, running 154.81 to Hodgkinson's 155.01. Femke Bol took bronze in 155.54. That's the podium Lausanne inherits. But here's what makes that title even more remarkable. Werro won it a day after falling. In her semifinal, her foot caught with 120 meters to go and she went down, finishing last, initially out of the final, but she appealed. The appeal succeeded. She was reinstated. 23 hours later, she ran a championship record and beat the Olympic champion anyway. Think about that for a moment. Most athletes need a season to recover from a fall like that. Werro used it as a stepping stone to the biggest win of her career. Because if you've been watching the women's 800 meters closely, you already know Birmingham wasn't even her best race this year. Werro isn't officially chasing the women's world record in Lausanne, no announced attempt, no pacemaker built for 153. But you don't run 153.80 in June and have nobody mention the world record in August. The possibility just hangs there now. I said it before and I'll say it again. Werro isn't a promising young Swiss athlete with a bright future anymore. She's already arrived. In 2026, she owns 4 of the 5 fastest 800-meter times in the world. Now look at who's standing in the other lane. Femke Bol did not grow up chasing this event. For years, she was one of the greatest 400-meter hurdlers in the sport, a 2-time world champion over the barriers. This season, she switched to the flat 2 laps, and it hasn't gone the way anyone expected, it's gone faster. She debuted over 800 meters in Ostrava in June, running 157.13. Weeks later in Paris, in her first ever Diamond League 800 meters, she followed Werro home in a personal best of 155.60. Then in Birmingham, on the biggest stage the event offers, she matched her Dutch national record to take bronze. From 157 to sub 156 in a matter of weeks. That's not a gradual transition, that's a rocket-style progression. But here's what makes this race different from just 2 fast women lining up together. Werro has spoken about wanting company at the front. Someone who can hold on close enough to pull her toward something bigger, instead of leaving her to break the tape alone against a stopwatch. That's exactly what Bol represents now. Not just a name on the start list, but a rival with real teeth, someone who's already proven in Paris and Birmingham that she can stay in touching distance deep into the closing stretch. So here's the question hanging over Lausanne. Can Femke Bol push Audrey Werro into another extraordinary run on Werro's own home track? And that home part matters more than you might think. Lausanne isn't just another stop on the circuit for Werro. This is where in 2025 she claimed her first ever Diamond League podium, finishing second behind Hodgkinson. This is a track she has openly said she wants to win on. She'll have a full Swiss crowd behind her, the kind that doesn't just watch, it pulls. But there's one thing we haven't talked about yet, and it's bigger than either athlete in this race. The women's 800 meters in 2026 is arguably the deepest it's ever been. Werro, Hodgkinson, Britain's Georgia Hunter-Bell, fresh off a European 1,500 meters title, Kenya's Lilian Odera, the reigning world champion, and Bol, rewriting her own story by the week. 5 women all capable of running at or near 155. You can't ignore where that full collision is actually happening though, because it isn't Lausanne. That 5-woman showdown is being saved for Zurich on August 27, 6 days later, in what's shaping up as the race of the year. Lausanne gives you the rehearsal, Zurich gives you the whole cast, which makes Friday night the next chapter, not the final one. Werro at home with the rising threat who's already chased her down twice this season. Now let's talk about the men. Because if you think Lausanne only has one heavyweight race, you haven't been paying attention. Wanyonyi and Marco Arop bring one of the most decorated rivalries in modern 800-meter running back to the Pontes. And this one has real scar tissue on both sides. Remember what happened the last time these two shared a global final? Paris 2024. Olympic gold on the line. Wanyonyi crossed first in 1:41.19. Arop crossed second in 1:41.20, 0.01 seconds. That's not a rivalry decided by a stride, that's a rivalry decided by a shoelace. But rewind one more year, and the story flips. 2023 World Championships, Arop is the one standing on top, taking the world title with Wanyonyi behind him. So this isn't two good athletes meeting in a mid-season Diamond League. This is a back and forth between the last two men to hold both an Olympic and a World 800-meter title, and neither has ever fully settled the score. Now here's what makes Lausanne the perfect stage for round 3. Wanyonyi has history here, and it's some of the fastest history the event has ever produced. In 2024, on this exact track, he ran 141.11. Meeting record, Diamond League record, one of the quickest 800-meter performances anyone has ever run. Lausanne for Wanyonyi is a track that has already seen him at his absolute best, but it's also seen him lose. Last year in 2025, on this same circuit, American Josh Hoey blew the race open and beat him, 142.82 to Hoey's first ever Diamond League victory. Wanyonyi didn't just lose, he lost at the one venue where he'd already run one of the fastest 800s in history. So Wanyonyi returns to Lausanne carrying both memories. The 141.11 that made him a legend on this track, and the defeat that reminded everyone he isn't unbeatable on it either. Can he reclaim Lausanne? That's the question this race is really asking. Now don't make the mistake of treating Arop as some outsider trying to spoil Wanyonyi's night. He's the reigning world champion, Olympic silver medalist in Paris, and in 2026 he's been the form man of the entire event, holding the world lead of 141.84. set at the Paris Diamond League in June, the only man to break 142 this season. If anyone has already proven he can beat Wanyonyi when it matters most, on the sport's biggest stages, it's Arop, and that's where this gets dangerous for Wanyonyi. His 2026 season, for all his talent, hasn't been the dominant year you'd expect from the Olympic and world champion. He's still chasing his first Diamond League 800-meter win of the year, beaten narrowly by rivals including American Brandon Miller in London. Yes, he owns a world record over 1,000 meters, 211.83, set last month in Monaco. But over his signature distance, the man everyone else is chasing has spent the season being chased himself. Miller is confirmed for Lausanne too, and he's not there to make up the numbers. He's the reigning London Diamond League champion over this exact distance, someone who's already beaten Wanyonyi once in 2026. That gives this men's 800 meters 3 real contenders, a rivalry with the sport's deepest history, plus the man who's already exposed Wanyonyi's vulnerability firsthand. Here's the thing about the 800 meters that makes it unlike almost anything else in athletics. You can lead for 600 meters and still lose. You can be boxed in with 200 to go and find a gap that wasn't there a second earlier. The first lap decides who's still in contention. The final 100 decides who actually wins. With 3 men who've all beaten each other at different points this season, that final 100 becomes almost impossible to call. So here's where Lausanne leaves us. 2 races, 2 completely different stories, same stadium, same Friday night. In the women's 800 meters, Werro isn't trying to prove she belongs anymore. She's trying to prove Stockholm and Paris weren't lightning in a bottle, that this is who she is now with a hometown crowd and a rival in Brutus Bowl fast enough to pull her there again. In the men's 800 meters, Wanyonyi and Arop bring a rivalry measured in world titles, Olympic medals, and hundredths of a second back to the one track where Wanyonyi has already touched greatness and already tasted defeat. Miller stands ready to remind both of them that in 2026, nobody's untouchable. Lausanne isn't just another Diamond League stop, it's 2 separate battles for who really owns the 800 meters in 2026.